Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us today. We have such a great episode with guest Bonnie Giller, who is a registered and certified dietitian, nutritionist, and certified diabetes care and education specialist. She is also a certified intuitive eating counselor. She has a Master of Science degree in clinical nutrition, and she has worked in the medical nutrition therapy and counseling space for over 35 years. Bonnie helps chronic dieters regain trust with food so eating is easy, enjoyable, and nourishing to their body and mind. She is the author of 3 books, and her latest is Enjoying Food Peace, and she has an amazing program called The Whole Body Trust, Intuitive Eating for a Peaceful Life. Bonnie and I talked about so much in this episode. We talked about diets, getting stuck on that yo-yo dieting roller coaster. She shared what intuitive eating is and how she helps her clients bridge that gap from dieting, chronic dieting, to intuitive eating. This is such an important topic, and I love how Bonnie breaks all of it down for us. I feel like this is such a helpful episode and something that is so ingrained in so many of us that you might not even realize that you are suffering with this or dealing with this. And that's what Bonnie talked about with her personal story, which was so interesting as well. I will definitely link all of her links so that you can learn more about her. You can check her out her website. She's on social media, and she's even sharing an ebook with us. So make sure to check out my show notes. And I hope you really enjoy this episode as much as I did. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing all of this with us, and enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have Bonnie Giller. Welcome to Learning to Glow podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy you reached out because this is the topic we have chosen to talk about today. Is such an important one. It's such a great piece of information that we can share with people and to get in the right headspace with things that we're going to talk about, like intuitive eating and dieting. It's so prevalent. So if we could just start, you are a nutritionist and dietitian. You also are an author. So if you could just give us a little bit of background of what you do, and then we'll talk about how you got to be here in the first place.
Yeah, that would be so great. So I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist. I am a certified intuitive eating counselor, which we will talk about. And I am also certified in diabetes education. So what do I do? I'm in business over, 36 years. Hard to say, probably longer than some of your listeners maybe are age-wise, but in any event, I've been in this business a very long time. And as I share, as we go through our conversation today, my philosophy in dietetics and nutrition therapy has definitely evolved over the years. And so I currently have a private practice, offline. So I say it's offline because I'm from New York. And so before COVID, I had an office, people would come in, patients, the whole deal. COVID forced everything online. So I still have that one-on-one. I call it my offline practice, although it is on virtual. But I also have my online business, which focuses solely on helping women recover from dieting, disordered eating through the intuitive eating process. So that's how I got to where I am today. Is kind of a long story, but I'm going to keep it really short, but just so you have an idea. I was not necessarily interested in nutrition when I was, younger. I watched my mother diet. There are 3 of us in my family. I'm the middle child of 2 boys. So after my youngest brother was born, I noticed my mother would constantly go out at night to, Weight Watchers, and which was her diet of choice over and over and over and over again, like probably so many people. And I, always wondered, like, why is mom like worrying about her body? Why is she, portioning her foods? She looks great to me. But it likely planted some seed in my head about, the value of a woman's body and how a woman is supposed to, quote unquote, look. And I never really dieted as a younger girl, but once I started dating, and then, with me and my friends were like, okay, we have to lose a few pounds. And we kind of started doing the crash diets, and the fad diets. And then, fast forward, gap year between high school and college, I studied abroad. I did not want to come home having gained weight, because girls that were older than me, friends of mine who had gone for a gap year, would come home having gained weight, and people would be like, oh, look how much she gained and look how much weight she gained. And it was a lot of shame around that. And I remember thinking, that will never be me. So while I was away, I restricted my eating. I overexercised. It was really like, this was the big goal: come home and be skinny, anyways, I did lose quite a bit of weight. I came home, my parents were super worried about me, and I was like, no, I'm fine. Ended up starting college and did not initially know I wanted to major in nutrition. And then I had an open slot in my schedule. Back in the day when I went to college, we didn't have computerized registration. So, there was this book, and I opened this big book, and I said, I'm just going to put my finger on any course. What course fits this open slot I'm taking? And it happened to be in the nutrition department. And I started taking classes, and I loved it. And that became my major. And I graduated. I went for my master's. Long story short, I ended up opening my private practice. And when I went to school, everything was from a weight centered approach. So learning to be a registered dietitian, whether it's treating diabetes or cholesterol, any condition, it was always lose weight. That's what you got to help people do: lose weight. It was counting calories, or it was counting food groups and exchanges, things like that. And so initially, when I had my private practice, I was creating meal plans for people. Now, I never demonized food, and I never considered what I did with people as dieting. But what I found over the years is that people took this healthy eating plan and they created it into a diet, because they had no flexibility. And if they went on a vacation or they ate something they thought they shouldn't have, all bets were off. And so my clients would lose weight on these plans, but somehow down the road, they'd call me back: Bonnie, I need a new meal plan. I was like, why would you need a new meal plan? We learned how to eat well, nourish your body. We worked on habits, changes, etc. And that's when I really noticed this idea of diet mentality. Now, I will say that for a long time, I don't know how much, how much you've talked about like intuitive eating and things like that, but I heard about the anti-diet approach, intuitive eating, for a while before I ended up jumping in. And I had a very hard time wrapping my dietitian head around that, because I learned everything within this structure of, calories and weight loss and, dieting. And so how do I work with clients and patients if I don't give them a meal plan? It was hard, until eventually I said, I need to find a way, because this meal plan method is not working. And that's when I dove into the research, and I took a course on intuitive eating led by Evelyn Tribole, one of the co-authors of Intuitive Eating. And then I did supervision with her. I incorporated it into my life, because unbeknownst to me, I was a dieter, and I had not even realized it, because I was just eating well as an RD. And we could talk a lot about this idea of pseudo dieting, but I incorporated it into my life and then realized, oh my God, I need to bring this to everyone. And that's when I changed everything within my practice through a weight neutral lens, meaning I work with patients with diabetes and heart disease. It's all through a weight neutral lens, meaning we're not focusing on lowering blood sugars or lowering cholesterol or improving heart health with weight loss as the treatment, but we're working through that weight neutral lens, that it's not about weight, it's about habits, it's about behaviors, it's about mindset. And then I obviously am doing the same with people who may not have health issues, such as these conditions I mentioned, but they've been dieting for years, dieting for decades. have disordered eating, and they really want freedom from all of that. And so over 36 years, my practice has evolved tremendously, and my philosophy around food. So that was like a lot to your question, but I wanted to give you like a really good picture of where I came from and where I'm at.
I love your story because it doesn't sound like you had an eating disorder. It sounds like you were just, victim to dieting like we all are, like in this culture that we live in and the diet culture that we live in. I think it's true for so many women. It's not that they're disordered, it's not that they have eating disorders, but it's starting as young as high school. We see, okay, well, we want to fit into a dress or we want to get into a bathing suit in the summer. So we've got to go on a diet. That's just what we've seen. It's what we know. It's what we saw our moms doing. So I love that about your story. I want to talk about one thing that you said, which was you were a dieter, but you didn't even realize it. So I guess we just need to talk about what it is to be a dieter. What
Mhm.
does that look like? Because maybe there's other people who are like dieting and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when people think of being a dieter, they think I'm on one of those branded commercial diets, and I'm following, all of the bells and whistles. That it doesn't mean that at all. You may never have been, I don't even want to name the diets to give them any kind of advertisements, right? But you may or may not have been on any of those, but you have rules around food and eating. So
Mm.
you can have these lists of foods that you can label. Let's say you label them as good and bad, can have, can't have, legal, illegal. Either way, you have rules around food. You have rules around how much you can eat of certain foods, when you can eat certain foods. There are all these rules around eating. That is dieting. If you, like for myself, I was eating quote unquote healthy. My meals were well balanced, but if my kids gave me a birthday cake, I'd be like, should I or shouldn't I? I don't want to hurt their feelings, but will I gain weight? And so there's this, oh my God, with every bite of food, am I going to gain weight? How's this going to change my body? You wake up every morning, today's going to be a good day. Today's going to be a good day in relation to your food and your eating, right? You are a dieter. You are a dieter. Um, you eat something that's on your forbidden food list and you're like, oh, I'll just have one more. And then you're like, oh, let me get rid of them and I will not have this again. Or I'll start again tomorrow. I'll start again on Monday, right? So these are all signs and symptoms, if you will, that yes, you are in fact a dieter, even if you're not following one of those branded commercial diets.
I think it's really confusing too because you can be doing something like you said, you are eating healthy, and you can. It's even there's a book that I'm reading that I was reading recently, and I'm much more aware of this stuff now than I was. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what she's talking about is so disordered." But to read it, you're like, "This is a doctor. This is someone who has like all these credentials and it just sounds like this is just what you have to do. This is just what healthy eating is." And but now I'm like, "Oh no, I see it in a whole different way now." And I think so many people wouldn't be able to do that and become trapped. So, with your clients, do you see the people that have been kind of chronically dieting?
Mhm.
What does that do for your health? If you're constantly dieting and you're going off and then you're going back on, I can imagine that has some health repercussions.
100%. Yeah, there's physical health damage, mental health damage. So, people go on a diet to lose weight to improve their health. At least that's what, they say, I want to be healthy, or the doctor says you need to lose weight for your health. And the problem is it's the weight cycling, it's the losing, the gaining, the losing, the gaining that actually is worse for your health and has poorer cardiovascular outcomes, creates insulin resistance, blood sugar irregularities. It's just it's worse. And by the way, dieting, and it shows in the research, causes weight gain. So repeated dieting is causing weight gain. So you started the diet to lose weight and now all of a sudden you're higher than you were when you decided to go on that first diet. And then as far as your mental health damages, look, you begin to feel inadequate. I'm not worthy. I'm a failure. What is wrong with me? Like all of these things are related to the fact that you're going on and off diets and you think you're a failure, but you're not. The diets have failed you. The diets are set up to have you come back. That is literally the diet industry. They want you to keep coming back or there would be no business. So they are set up for that purpose. It's just not a sustainable way to live.
That's yes, that's so true. And so when you talk, one of the things that is very common in the diets, and especially like that comes to mind right now, is calorie restriction, which you mentioned a little bit. And a lot of times it's like, well, I'm at this I'm in a calorie deficit, and then I need to lose weight because it's this one's not working. So I feel like women will just keep going lower and lower and lower. Is that part of the problem with the weight gain?
Yes, yes, because every time you lower your calories, you slow your metabolism. So the body goes into this, like, I got to protect her. And so when you eat less and less and less calories, your body starts to take those calories and store it as fat for future famine. And so at the end of the day, you're slowing your metabolic rate. And with each low calorie diet you go on, and you're not providing enough for your body, you are actually creating more of these fat making and storing enzymes for this biological compensation to happen. And so at the end of the day, once again, you're trying to lower your calories because you think if I eat less, I will lose more. And in fact, what we see is you really are harming yourself doing that. You've got to actually eat more. So many times people would come to me and then say, Bonnie, I'm eating X amount of calories. I can't even go any lower. And I go, that's part of the problem. You need to eat more. And they look at me like, what? I'm trying to lose weight. Eating more is not going to help me. And I'm like, yes, eating more is going to get that metabolism back in gear and get your body working for you again.
I feel like that is, and this isn't my next question, but I feel like that is a big jump with when you talked about mentally to go, okay, this is what I've been told for my whole life. I need less calories, more exercise, and then you're coming in and saying you need to eat more. I'm sure that's like really scary for these women because they're like, what's going to happen? And like, how do you go from someone who is literally a yo-yo dieter to intuitive eating? Like there must be a big bridge that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because when people say, okay, I don't want to diet anymore, although that is really scary because even though the diets don't work, it's their safety net. But I always say that safety net has a lot of holes in it because you keep going back. Something is not working there, right? So the idea of intuitive eating is glamorous. It's great. Like, okay, I want to get there. But there is a very systematic approach to get there. Even, for example, so a couple of things are coming into my mind right now. People think intuitive eating, eat what I want when I want. Awesome. Don't have to think about it. See it, want to eat it. That is not what it is. It is not about instant gratification. There is thought that goes behind food decisions. And so the attunement process is so important. Attuning back to hunger and fullness signals, to the inner guide that you were born with. And the other, I would say, ish mistake people make is like, okay, I'm going to stop dieting. I'm going to do quote unquote intuitive eating. To them, it means I'm going to eat when I'm hungry. I'm going to stop when I'm full. And that's where they begin their journey. The problem with that is they're still steeped in the diet mentality. And therefore, those eat when hungry, stop when full principles of intuitive eating now become rules. And it's now the intuitive eating diet or the hunger fullness diet. And if you've eaten when you're not exactly hungry, oh my God, I can't even do intuitive eating. I failed at this too, which is why you ask about the steps and the process, that bridge to get from dieting to intuitive eating. Yes, there is a step-by-step process that I take my clients through, and it must start with the mindset. The inner work is so very important. It's looking at your beliefs that you have around food, around eating, around your body. What are those thoughts that you have? When did those thoughts start? Back from childhood, most likely. So if you've had certain messages from childhood that were given to you around food, eating, your body, or maybe not directly to you, but you witnessed it maybe to a sibling or maybe a parent about themselves, right? You're taking those messages, you repeat them over and over. They become beliefs that now seep into your subconscious. And unless you look to unvalidate, is that a word, unvalidate? Or I think that's a word, right? Unless you
Invalidate.
invalidate. Yeah, I knew that sounded odd. But unless you look to invalidate that and really change that belief, those beliefs are running the program in your adult life. And so what we must do is dismantle those diet culture messages. We need to identify those beliefs that are causing self-sabotage and really help you change the neural pathways in your brain. So you are, in fact, you have totally new beliefs around food, around eating, about you, yourself, your body. Then ultimately, with those new beliefs, you move through the process to attune, to trust, and eventually to make your own food decisions that feel good in your body versus allowing the diet or any external rules to guide your eating.
Yeah, I know that's so powerful too, because a lot of it's so unconscious. So I mean, it's just been the way it is for us, since everyone can remember. I mean, I've have a lot of experience with this myself, and that was just normal, and becoming aware of like, oh, that's actually not the healthy mindset that I thought it was, and it's actually so harmful. And
when I first started my wellness journey, I had already been in the skincare industry for years, working on client skin and as an educator for multiple skincare brands. When I learned about how the toxins in our personal care and beauty products could have a negative impact on our health, I knew I needed to make a change. I was used to the result-driven products that I was working with, and I was not happy with the natural products on the market at that time. Although they were safer and cleaner, they did not meet my expectations for results. I created Simply Just Skincare to deliver the results my clients demanded from their products while using natural, toxin-free ingredients. You can check out my clients' results and reviews on my website, simplyjustskincare.com. In 30 days, my clients have reported more hydrated skin, less appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and more of an overall glow. Our top sellers include our Repair Toner, our Hydrating Undo Serum with hyaluronic acid, and more. I am offering my listeners 20% off their first order with code PODCAST. Check it out in the link in my show notes to get glowing today.
I think one thing we haven't even broken down for those who have never heard of it, or if they've heard of it but they don't really know what it is, maybe you could give us an introduction to what it actually is to be an intuitive eater and what that looks like for someone that has, I mean, it could be for the people that have the diabetes or any health issues, but also for the people who have, really had that disordered eating in the past.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So intuitive eating is eating based on your physiological need to eat. That means based on your hunger signals, knowing when to start eating, based on fullness signals, knowing when to stop eating, based on satisfaction, not based on situations you find yourself in or emotions that you're feeling. We are all born intuitive eaters. And unfortunately, there are people who move away from being an intuitive eater for many reasons, one of which is you started your first diet and got sucked into diet culture. So when you're an intuitive eater, you don't have these rules around good foods and bad foods. There's no morality around foods, around how good, quote unquote, or bad you are based on your food choices. You are hungry, you assess, you decide, what do I really want to eat right now? Your body is giving you those messages. We often just don't listen to them. But yes, your body is saying to you, not just you're hungry, it's time to eat, but it's what you want to eat right now. Your body does give those clear messages. And so you're eating with attunement, you're stopping when you're comfortably full, you're eating what you enjoy. There's no right or wrong around it. And you have peace with the process. And so when you're hungry, you tune in to your meal. When you're done with your meal, you're finished, you move on with your life. It doesn't take up 90 or 100% of your brain space. Whereas with dieters, it's this obsession in a way, right? There's an obsession where it's like, what did I eat? What am I eat? What will I eat? You don't have that with intuitive eating. So there's so much peace and freedom. Food is a non-issue. Now, when you have diabetes or you have any other health issues, once you've shifted out of the diet mentality and the whole right or wrong, you're learning how your body is working, what foods you would like to choose that are helpful to enhance heart health, to help lower blood sugar levels, but there's no feelings of deprivation associated with it. If you if you make a decision to choose a food to eat or to choose not to eat something, and there's either this feeling of, oh, I feel so deprived now, or I feel guilty that I ate it, then the diet mentality is still alive and kicking. And so now we need to take a step back and we need to say, okay, and continue to work on shifting out of that diet mentality. It's not always easy, but it is possible. We live in a culture where it's all around us. It's in the doctor's office. It's in, family and friends. You get together with people. It's in the supermarket. It's in, billboards. You're driving on the highway. Diet culture is everywhere. So it really is being able to call that out. It's okay to have that thought, but as long as you don't act on it, you're like, oh, yeah. Food police, that's you. I don't need you anymore. Goodbye, right? And then you move on to become more, what do I really want right now? What feels good for me?
I love that. It's when you were saying that it's literally the opposite of a diet, because with diets, we're almost trained to ignore what our body's needs are. And I remember being on a diet that you had to eat a certain amount of your protein, your fat, and your carbs, and you would measure it. You would put them in containers. And I remember thinking, like, this is such a little amount of food. And I'm completely ignoring the fact that my body was craving more.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would just get used to the fact that, okay, I just have to retrain my body to need this amount of food. And I think, isn't that where people get stuck too? Because they think we're so trained that it's got to be an under amount, and just like you're always underdoing it. And I can see why that leads to such, getting kicked off of it and just going the opposite way, because you're like, your body's craving food, and so you go the opposite direction, binge, eat whatever you want, eat too much till you're uncomfortable. It's counterintuitive to what our body needs when we're doing that.
But the problem is that because of all these rules, you lose trust in your body. You lose trust in your signals. That's what diets end up causing. It strips you of full trust. So at the end of the day, what we want to do is bring back that trust. When I have asked people, do you trust yourself with food? No, is what they say, right? Do you trust the signals of your body? Absolutely not. Because I want to eat now, but the diet says it's not time to eat. No, right? You lose that trust. Well, it's our right. We're born with it's our birthright to have food autonomy. Like, why have we given that away? Because of the society we live in, because of the messages, because of the value placed on a thin body and what a woman's body is, quote unquote, supposed to look like. And that is horrible. And we need to fight back, and we need to get back to a place where we feel confident in our body here and now. Whatever our body is now, we need to take the best care of it, and we need to learn to trust it, because it really won't let us down.
I can see why clients would come to you and be like, I need you to tell me what to do, because we're so used to diets doing that. I can look at my book. I'm an expert dieter. I've done it all. And I can look at my plan. I can look at what I'm supposed to do that day. I don't have to think. My body doesn't have to be thinking. And so they're like, just now I'm going to try you, and you're going to give me these things to do. I wonder with exercise, I know a lot of the diets will be like, you need to work out 5 days a week, and you need to work out this many times, and then you've got people under eating when they should be actually upping it because they're working out so much. What do you deal with that at all in your practice?
Oh, absolutely. It's the idea that you start a diet, you start exercise, you stop the diet, you stop exercise, right? The diet industry, whatever plan you're on, is rules around food and there's rules around exercise. And so now it's just more rules. So in the intuitive eating work, what I help my clients do is separate these two things. Food and movement have nothing to do with each other. We don't move more because we ate more, or vice versa. We don't do that. That is diet culture. We do not do that. Is it important to move our bodies? Of course, our bodies are made to move. Our bodies are not made to just sit, right? It's important to move, but there are so many health benefits to moving our body. And so what we really need to do is remind ourselves that we have to decouple exercise from food and dieting and weight loss. We don't exercise to burn calories and lose weight. We exercise for so many other reasons. Now, sometimes the word exercise can be triggering to people who have been dieters. And so it's much more gentle, if you will, to utilize the word movement. But either way, it's moving our body, which is important. So I'm a big fan of movement. I personally do every day some form of movement. I encourage my clients to when they're ready, because when we are recovering from dieting, they're often not ready to talk about exercise in the beginning of the journey because it's so tied up with burning calories and losing weight and diet culture. So we have to just say when you're ready. And you will, it's so interesting because what I have found through this process is that very naturally, very organically, people begin to move through the journey. They're ready for the next step in a very natural fashion without forcing it. So it's not unusual. Well, I'll have somebody say to me, I really feel like I'd like to explore some movement now. Great. Your decision. Not me saying, hey, listen, this is what you really need to do. You need to exercise X amount of days of the week for this amount of time. No, it's coming to you like your body is giving you the message to say, hey, I want to move a little more.
I really love that, really separating it out, because it's so true. It shouldn't be tied together. And I remember doing this one program. Trust me, I have a million of these stories, but one of my programs was like 5 days a week, or 6 days, workouts. And I remember thinking, and it was one of those like, come on, you're tired, you're sick. That's okay. Keep going. And I just would ignore an injury. Or if I was sick, I would be like, I got to do it anyway. It's like you can't miss a day. And it's such a good reminder for people who have been through this and are thinking that they have to work out in order to lose weight. It's really, so it can be so harmful.
Right.
I remember the last thing that I needed sometimes was a workout. I needed to rest. And it's like you get so caught up in it that you're like, there's no way I'm going to miss a workout. Like, it's the most important thing. And it gets to be as like much in your head as the food. And I remember times of being like, okay, I'm not feeling good today. And then I wouldn't work out, and then I'd feel guilty about it. Or I would be like, oh, now I'm not going to have a good day because I didn't get my workout in. So I'm sure that's common with some of the ex-dieters.
Totally. And so we heal from that as well. And I as you're talking, I could share a story of my own self when I was dieting and I didn't realize I was dieting. I had that mindset because I remember vividly one day I was at the gym and I was on the treadmill and I had to leave 5 minutes early because I had to take my daughter somewhere, wherever it was. And I was like, oh my God, I have to stop the treadmill 5 minutes early. And how will this affect my body? And I remember in that moment, like, body, you know better than that. Stop it. Just get off the treadmill and go do what you have to do. 5 minutes is not going to make a difference. But that's when the movement, the exercise is so entangled with the toxic diet culture. And so separate that out. Not always so easy, but with support, one can accomplish that. And then you start to engage in movement that feels good in your body, that feels gentle to you, that is joyful to you, doesn't feel like torture. Like I gotta do this and just get it over with.
Yes, I know that, like finding that workout that's right for you and your body and your situation, and not just what you think you should be doing or what the men are doing. Sometimes it's different for us. I had a guest on who was a fitness instructor, and they had to change the times from, I can't remember if it was a 5 minute or 10 minute difference in the class time. So instead of 60 minutes, say it was 55 minutes or something. And she said everybody freaked out. Like they lost it. And she was like, oh my God, it's 5 minutes. Like, but people are so, it's a problem.
It is a problem because it's like those 5 minutes, how will that affect my body and what will happen? And I think that's why it's really important for us to have this conversation. And I know that a lot of times when I have these conversations with clients or people who are just like, they want to, what does it look like to work with you? Or what is intuitive eating? Or what is it? And when I share some of these things, it's like, you can see like such a relief coming over their face, right? Like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to weigh myself every day. I don't have to weigh my food every day. I don't, it's like all of a sudden, all of this comes like bubbling out, and there's so much relief. Now, it's work, but
Mm-hmm.
once you have been sucked in this culture for so long and you're not happy, because these women are not happy. I mean, doing this for so long and then thinking about their own children or their own grandchildren or daughters, like they don't want them to deal with that. I just got off the phone yesterday with someone who called me about her. Let me remember how old her daughter is. I think she's 9 or 10. And she says, I don't want her going down the rabbit hole of dieting that I have from when I was a child. I need to prevent that from happening. And so it's important. It's important to kind of like, where are you at right now? And is this a pattern from generation to generation to generation? Because you can break that pattern.
Yeah. And it's so important to at least have, we can't protect them from out there in the world. And there's going to be people talk like you and your girlfriends when you were in high school, but it's also like to have a space. And that's really important for me too, even though I have boys. Boys have these issues too, and the way that they think about women in the future matters. That's one of the reasons I started doing this work, because I remember talking to a coach about intuitive eating, and she mentioned something called body checking, and I was like, oh, I mean, my girlfriend and I used to spend the night at each other's houses, and I would wake up in the morning after like going out, and I would look at my stomach every morning, and she would laugh at me and make fun of me. I'd be like, well, I want to see how bloated I am.
Yeah.
And so those are things like I just thought were normal. Like everybody did that. I had a friend who was like the complete opposite of a dieter. She was freedom. She had freedom. That what they talk about with intuitive eating is like, that freedom around food. And I would watch her like make tuna fish sandwiches and just put all this mayo in and like eat cheese on everything. And I'd be like, how can you do that? Like that is so fattening. And that was like back when I was in high school, was no fat diets, and fat was terrible. And so I had no fat. And I was just in awe of her, because I would think this is a truly healthy relationship with food. I was so envious because I just did not have that. And she was a naturally thin person, healthy, fit, but she didn't have the noise around it.
Right.
And, she did come from a house where that was not a thing. It was, you eat food, you eat what you want, and that's it. And she just had such a healthy relationship. And I was always so impressed by that. I didn't get it at first. I was very confused, because a lot of the friends that I had, or the people that I knew, are the opposite of that.
Right.
So I just see that as being like one less thing we have to worry about on our plate. Like you said, that noise and taking up all that brain space, it's so draining.
It is. It's so draining. And the work that we do within intuitive eating, it's not just about food. It ripples into so many areas of your life in a positive way, other relationships and things. It really is a beautiful journey. And, I've even had, I'm thinking now, like, I think my oldest client who had come to me to heal her relationship with food was 82 years old. And she said to me, however many years I have left, I want to have peace with food and my body. And I just thought that was like, wow, wow. And I was so proud of her, and she did so well. And you know what? Why wait till 82? Why wait? There's so much out there, so much life you can live. Think about how you're being held back because of the dieting or your diet mentality. So I always ask people to stop and think about, how has dieting affected your physical health, your psychological health, your relationships that you have with people, right? I mean, how has it impacted your life? Take that inventory, because then you'll see, you know what? This is not a way for me to live. I've got so much to do in my life. I want to do, I want to see, I want to explore, I want to accomplish, right? And the struggle around food is holding so many people back.
Yeah. And what else could we do with that energy? Where can we direct that? What other things can we get, accomplish and enjoy, because we're not worried about that constantly, or like the next thing, or summer is coming. So we got to make sure that we are able to be in our bathing suit instead of being like, we can be in our bathing suit
Oh,
just how we are.
can I just share something? Because you just brought that up. So one of my clients in my intuitive eating program is called Whole Body Trust. She shared with us this week, literally brought tears to my eyes. She has started going to the pool every morning with her daughter because her daughter is training for a meet or something. So she would go and she would walk over to the pool with a towel covering her stomach, her thighs, and then drop the towel, get in the pool. And the other day she went over and she had the towel, and a man was there and said to her, "Why are you taking a towel? You can't bring a towel into the pool." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to leave it here." And then she realized, nobody cares what I look like. Nobody cares. Why do I care so much? There was another woman getting in the pool next to her, chatting with her. Nobody cares. From that point forward, she left the towel on the lounge chair. She walks with, her head held high, and she feels proud. And that was such a defining moment for her because she has struggled, not just years, like literally decades. And it was just so, I got chills. I literally got tears. Like she had commented in our forum, and I was like, wow, amazing.
It's such a better way. It's a healthier, happier way. And the other way is it's unnecessary and it's hard and it takes time, like you said. But if there is somebody listening who's dealing with this or it really wants to change their mindset and all of those things that we've talked about, can you please tell us what you do, what you offer, and how someone can work with you?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So I have a small group coaching program. It's called Whole Body Trust. And I take my clients through step by step, a structured system to go from frustrated dieter, all the way to intuitive eater, where you have full trust in your mind. So your thoughts, trust in your signals, trust in your food choices. So if anybody's interested in that, they could reach out to me. I am, I'm on Facebook, so I'll share the link. You can follow me on Facebook for all my, tidbits and strategies there. You can reach out via email. My website is dietfreeradiantme.com. So you can inquire about that at any time. Happy to get on a quick call with you to discuss. I have a free Facebook group, which you're invited to as well. You just intuitiveeatinggroup.com takes you straight up to Facebook in my group there. So yeah, I'm on social media, Instagram, Bonnie R. Giller, and follow me, check me out, reach out to me. Happy to talk and take you to a better place with food and your body.
I love it. I'll link all this in the show notes so it's easy to click the link. And you're wonderful, Bonnie. I just so appreciate you for coming on and sharing all of this with us. It's so important. So important.
Now, I'll also provide a link for you for an ebook for people if they would like to get started. 6 Steps to a Body You Love Without Dieting. I'll share that. It's a free download for your audience as well. Anything I can do to really bring some relief for people.
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us.
See you next time.